Welcome back to Actors Notes. This is essentially a podcast where, listen, I'm not a professional actor in terms of I've booked so many different projects and feature films and TV series and commercials. I have been on all of those, but not to any degree where I think I'm a celebrity or famous. I'm just simply, I would consider myself an intermediate actor in terms of how long I've been pursuing this craft and learning about the acting industry. And Actors Notes is essentially, I'd have notes every time I go to acting class. And whether that is script breakdown or we dive into acting techniques, whether that's Stella Adler, Sanford Meisner, whether that's Uta Hagen, Stella Adler. I think I just said that name. Anyways, I would write down notes on what my teacher, my acting teacher, would say. And that goes for improv as well. I took improv classes. I just finished last week. I finished about, I want to say, 2 months worth of improv classes at the Second City in Chicago. And this is where Steve Carell, Tina Fey, Chris Farley, Stephen Colbert, Keegan Michael Pete. Oh my gosh, Keegan Michael Peel. They all came from the Second City in Chicago. Those are the alumni that came from uh, the Second City. And so I was like, I want to work on my craft as an actor. So I would take notes in class. And I learned so much about improv, about, okay, there's so much more that goes into a scene, more than when you're on set and the director says, can you just improv this as your character? What do you do in that situation? So there's a lot I learned, and there's a lot of notes that I took down. And those notes were originally just for me, but I thought, why not share this with anyone else who might be going through something similar? Or, maybe there is some way, somehow we can help each other out if you've already gone past some of the mistakes that I've made, or for me to share those mistakes so you don't make those mistakes, but so we can learn with each other. A big part of this is networking, and this is my little way to network with you. So I do appreciate your time to listen. But I want to get to today's topic, which is my first feature film. I booked my first feature film, and this was an absolute crazy journey. And it all starts with the audition. I remember my manager sending me the audition. I literally arrived to the gym, got sent this audition, and I actually submitted for this project before as a different character. And when I came to the gym, she said, via email, she said, casting wants you to audition and resubmit, but for a different character. And so I was almost going to give it some time, as in go do my workout, because I just got to the gym. I just had some pre-workout. I'm caffeinated and motivated, as they say. So I just got to the gym, and I was like, I can either wait about an hour or two, and this will only make sense. Like, why is he talking about doing an audition and going to the gym? But I'll get to that in a second. I was going to either do my workout and then do this audition afterwards, because it was technically ASAP, as soon as possible, but I believe I could submit it for the next day. And I said, you know what? Something in me says I got to go do this right now. So I did go do it right now. I knew the scene because it was the same scene that I did for the other character I auditioned for, but it was obviously a different character with new lines. So I knew a little bit about the scene structure. I already did a little prep work. Now I can go in depth with how I prep a character, and I will, because spoiler, we booked it and I had to do this work. But I did about 5 to 10, maybe 15 at the max minute breakdown on, okay, what are my goals? What do I want in this scene? Who am I to this character? Who am I in the story? What's going on? So I did the audition the best I could with the time that I had, and I submitted it right there and then. So as soon as she sent me that audition, I turned it around in less than maybe an hour and a half, less than an hour and a half. So I went home to the audition, sent it. If anything, I feel like I sent it within the hour. And then not even, I want to say an hour and a half, I went back to the gym, did my workout. As I was leaving, I saw the email. It said, you booked it. And I was like, Booked what? Honestly, because as an actor, you know that sometimes if you're with an agency or if you self promote on Actors Access, casting networks, or any other type of backstage, you might be submitting audition after audition, or your agency or manager may send it to you. You audition for it. You just put it out there. You audition for it and hope for the best. So when she said you booked it, I was like, booked what? If I booked it, great. It's a celebration regardless. But then I saw feature film, and I was like, this is my first feature film. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to feel. This is just amazing. What do I need to do? She said, just, okay, this is a SAG film, meaning that since now that I did the film, I'm SAG eligible, but I won't go SAG yet. And if you don't know what that means, I'm still trying to figure out it's called the Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA. It's like a union. It's like union work, if you want to think about it in that way. I've been in the acting industry for well over 4 years now, and there's still so much I have to learn about being SAG eligible. Should I be? Should I join? How do you get SAG eligible? Well, if you book a feature film, that's SAG, or there's even low budget SAG. There's so much terminology that I'm still trying to learn. But regardless or not, we booked, and that was an amazing thing. That was absolutely phenomenal to me. So that rest of the day, I made sure to send my manager as much information as she requested, and yeah, I went and I told my brother, I told my mom, I told my family, I told the ones that I loved, and it was a good time to celebrate. Nothing like not going out. Some people like to go out, but I just took that day to myself, and it was very rewarding. I kind of took it in the best I could, and then I got sent the script. And my character, you would call a principal supporting role, meaning that this film didn't have many actors in the entire film. You'll take something like, I I'm trying to think of movies. Here's another tidbit about me. If you ever ask me about certain movies or TV shows or anything from past with celebrities and A-list, actors and actresses, I don't know them. And this actually, my how do you call it? My ignorance for that took me in later because I didn't realize the actor that I'd be working with later on for the feature film. But I just remember getting sent the script, and as a principal supporting role, I had about 6 lines of dialogue. I had a good chunk as a paragraph of dialogue, and it was in the setting of a restaurant, and it was myself, the lead actor, the lead actress, or sorry, the wife of the lead actor, who is portrayed usually. I want to see. This is where terminology still gets me. I don't even. She's a principal role, and then I had my acting wife, and she was also a principal supporting. So principal means think of The Office. You have okay. I'm going to go to Steve Carell because he was also an alumni at the Second City in Chicago, and you have this group of people. You have Jim. You have Pam. You have Steve Carell's character, Michael Scott. These are all principal roles. But say someone comes in, almost like a guest star. Okay, now we're talking about TV series, not movies. See, this is where I'm not really trying to think about this because there's still things I have to learn about. Principal supporting roles. That is for like TV and films, stuff like that. And if you're talking about TV series, it's guest stars, it's reoccurring guest stars. I'm like, I don't know what I am. I'm just happy to be a part of it. That's my title, though. I don't want to stay stuck on what it is because I'm still learning it as well. But I had about 6 lines of dialogue and a good tongue twister of a line. My character, his name was Marcus. Now, Marcus is this, as the description said, he was an entrepreneur, a tech bro, very hyper, very confident. It didn't say cocky, but you could probably implement that into character choices. And he was like this businessman. He used a lot of buzzwords like post-market, pre-revenue, corporate service company, CEO, stuff like this. And that was my character. And so, yeah, my script breakdown first in my scene, was very straightforward. I asked myself three questions that I always do, no matter what script I get. I ask myself, who am I? Where am I? And what do I want? What's my goal? Who am I? And I'm going to briefly go by this as I talk about my feature film and just being on set and the things that I actually witnessed, the things I experienced, and the things I learned as an actor going forward in my career. But asking myself, who am I? Where am I? What do I want? Who am I? As in, who's my character? Who's my character to the lead actor, to the other characters in this scene? Am I just supporting? Am I here to carry the story along? Am I here to carry the story along in a way that changes, something pivotal in the movie to this character? So that would make me deliver the line with a little bit oomph. It's like this is the part of the movie that changes almost everything. So if you're the character that says it in a certain way, you should know that. So who are you? Um, where are you? Obviously, physical location matters, because if you're out in a park, you might, project a little bit more. Sorry if that was a little loud for you guys, but if you're in a library, you gotta whisper, "Hey, can you pass me the book on how to cook spaghetti?" I don't know where that came from. But yeah, where are you definitely affects your tonage, your cadence, how you speak, how you might say certain things. But yeah, where it's going back to who are you? I kind of jumped the gun there. Where are you in the story? Where do you feel? Just take a guess. This is all about character choices, actors, the actor's choice. Where are you in the story? Do you feel like from this scene, you're probably in the beginning of the movie, or in the middle, or at the end? And say if you're at the end of the movie, this is why it matters, because the lead actor or the lead actress, they've already gone through the hero's journey. There was already a climax, and they had to, build themselves back up after being digged down. And, it's almost a hoorah moment at the end of the movie, depending on the film. And to know that, you might deliver your line in a certain way. Excuse me. And yeah, that all just takes an effect on how you might deliver a line, just knowing, and it gives you more groundedness. You're like, I know where this scene is. I can. It gives you some substance. And then what's your goal? Every scene. This is what I learned from a director. I don't know what interview it was from. I think it was from Film Courage on YouTube, and I love their YouTube channel because it gives you real insight, and not just from the actor's point of view, but from a lot of directors and producers on what they experience on set. So give that one a try. Shout out to them. I love their content. And they said no scene in a movie, TV series, whatever it is, isn't in there for no reason. There's always a purpose. There's always something to carry it along. And within that scene, you have a goal as the character. There's either something that you want them to feel, to say, to know. How do you deliver a line to make someone know you mean business? How do you deliver a line to, if you want them to make you feel heard? How do you feel that? You come with more sympathy and empathy. You come from a place of, I want you to understand me. That's going to affect how you deliver a line. That's how I break down a script. Now, going back to the actual script for this feature film, if you ever get this opportunity, and of course, when you book a job, they'll send you the full script, potentially. Or if you audition and they send you the full script, that's even gold. That's a gold mine, because it gives you the whole context of everything. You know where you are in the movie, if it's the beginning, middle, or end. You know your character, how often they are played throughout the entire movie or project. You know everything because you have the full script. So read the full script, and that's exactly what I did. It was about 115 pages, and scripts like this, regardless if it's a TV series or film, they can get revised. Scenes can get changed. Dialogue can get changed, and mine did. I just remember reading the first draft of the script, and I cried. I cried. It was very beautiful because it related a lot to me and my experience during the time when I was actually taking improv classes, because it took place in Chicago and it took place outside I mean, Chicago is where the second city is based. So, it was this artist, it was this musician struggling, and I loved his story. I don't know how much I can share. I did film this in March, and I remember texting or emailing the casting director, or sorry, the producer, and I was like, "Can I post this picture?" He was like, "Let's hold off. Hold off of giving as much information just to build up the hype." And this is totally common. If you do sign an NDA, which I did not, that's why I'm very lenient to say all what I'm saying, and putting it on the interwebs. If you sign an NDA standing for a non-disclosure agreement, this is just an agreement between you and the company, whoever it is, saying, don't talk about this stuff. That's a bad no-no. And it describe every NDA might be a little different in saying, don't talk about it on social media. Don't talk about it in general. Don't even say the words. I haven't had too much problems with NDA, but I did not sign one. So I'm gonna give you as much juice as I can. Um, I'm gonna take this time to say thank you for watching. To get my juice. Okay, sorry. That was funny. But going back to the script and the first draft and reading the entire thing, giving me as much information as my to my character and to help me make my choices as much as possible. Now, like I said, my scene did get changed, and I did have plenty of time, maybe well over, I want to say about 2 weeks or right under 2 weeks. When you're on set on something like SNL or a TV series, they'll change that script that day. And you're like, I gotta read this. And it's like a cold read. And a cold read is essentially you'll get a script and you'll have changed dialogue. Maybe you'll have a whole page that's a monologue or dialogue that you have to memorize that day. And that just shows you the um, amount of, I think stress is a great word that's put on actors uh, in this industry that not many people think about. A lot of people say, how do you memorize all your lines? And people do have different techniques, and I'll get to mine on how I memorized my technique or my way to memorize my lines um, for my feature film. But just going back to the change, it wasn't a super big change, although the words were very, like I said, my character was very businessy. He was very entrepreneurial, and I was like, okay, it's a bit of a tongue twister. I remember my lines was something like, I had to share a story that my dad told me as a kid, and it was, my dad was telling me the story about a seven-figure acquisition he made in the 80s, right? And it was this super speculative post-market pre-revenue corporate service company. But he knew, so he went for it, and that was the line. I'm going to pause here because that was exactly the whole line. I tried to deliver it. So it was, my dad was telling me about the seven-figure acquisition he made in the 80s, right? And it was the super speculative post-market pre-revenue corporate service company. And I kept on messing up that line. I kept on messing a pre-revenue, post-revenue corporate company. What? So I messed up that line so many times during onset, spoiler alert. But that was the lines, all these buzzwords, and I had more lines in that afterwards. I remember leading up to it, we shot in Columbus, Ohio, and up to the point, I didn't know the other two actors, the lead actor and the lead actress I'd be working with. I only knew because you'd get a call sheet. You get an email from production. They'd give you all the information to get prepared for the wardrobe, to bring your own clothes for the wardrobe stylist, to get measured. Because it was a 2 day shoot. Sorry, it was a 1 day shoot, but I was there for 2 days. 1 day for a fitting for the wardrobe stylist to make sure everything that they had for me or the clothes that I brought with me that they asked for just fit well, and it worked well within the restaurant, the scene that we would be filming in the very next day, how it would pair with my acting wife, and how it would pair to the other lead actor and lead actress. So the call sheet has everything you need to know, but it didn't tell me who I'd be acting with, which you'd think it would be there. Only my wife, my acting wife, is name that I saw on there. And so I remember I showed up to the fitting of course, leading up to this, I was feeling nervous because it was my first feature film, and I was trying to memorize my lines. But I knew for the fitting, it was just there to get fitted. I didn't have to perform in any way. So I showed up to set where they were filming at that location, and they film at different locations, by the way. It's not like the same location. And for some reason, I thought that. Quick break from our sponsor. No sponsor. Mm. One of these days, I'll have like, this is Element, like a Chris Williamson podcast or Andrew Huberman. This is AG1, the sponsor for today's video. This is me and you. You're my sponsor. And going back to what I was saying, I showed up on set and I was trying to, for some reason at the beginning, I've been, of course, like I said, acting and been a part of different commercials and TV series. I thought I was going to be shooting at the